What is up, guys? I hope you guys enjoy the clip that's coming up, or the little tutorial that's coming up. I tried to keep it shorter, but it is a little long. As I was throwing orbs, I was remembering other orbs. Remember, this game is still very new. A lot of people are still learning, so some of the calls I may mess up or stutter a little bit because I'm still trying to remember what these calls exactly are. There's a lot of calls. This is just one of 3 maps that we currently have right now. Like I mentioned in the video, though, Sage is one of those characters that is basically 100% pick rate right now. Her res is just too strong. Her walls are too strong. And the orb is just such a huge utility piece, especially if you use it correctly. Try not to use it too early. You can use it early to avoid a rush, but it's so much better when you can throw it in the middle of a rush and then get all that information for people that are there. The wall, I think right now, a little too much HP. We'll get into that into a later video. But I hope you guys do enjoy this video. Go ahead and drop a like, comment. Let me know what your favorite agent is. I really have only played Sage, a little bit of Phoenix, and a little bit of Brimstone and Breach. But other than that, it's been just a lot of Sage gameplay. So I hope you enjoy this video and let me know. What is up, guys? Onesie here. I apologize if there is any background noise from my fans or whatnot going off. It's starting to get a little warm out here in Southern California, and I need to have the fans on to keep me cool. We're gonna go over some Sage strategies here for offense and defense. I'm gonna split these up by A and B. We're gonna go like A side, we're gonna do the offense and the defense. B side, we're gonna do the offense and the defense. I think it's gonna be the best way to do this. Now separate. If I'm doing A side offense, then I'm gonna do A side defense. We're gonna stay by sight, and we're gonna go over some strats that I've seen so far with playing Sage. Now, by no means am I saying that I'm the best Sage player in the world. Or anything like that. These are just strats that I've used that have worked for me as I'm learning this game. So first of all, we're going to go in a custom match, of course. Load this bad boy up. And then we are going to have the cheats turned on so we can do abilities, and I can pause time and everything and whatnot. Alright, so first of all, Sage, her strengths and everything she does so very well. She's extremely good at holding down a site. She's very good at establishing a push and keeping enemies where you need them to be, forcing them into like a corner of the site. When you're attacking, like specifically this B site, we're going to start at B. I know usually start with A or whatnot. B is just a little closer, I think, than A. So that's where we're going to start. But she has the ability to, if somebody's holding out in this side of the site, you could frozen orb this side of the site, and then you can force them into this side of the site. Her versatility is vast, and that's not even going into her heal and her res and all that stuff. So we're going to go into defending the B site first. So defending is one of the things that I like the most about Sage. I'm a better defender than I am a attacker, but there are strats you can use that can help you with defense. So for instance, one of the strats you see a lot of people use is to hold to maintain long control. Or to check for long. With Sage, you have a few orbs here that you can do, but there's not really much you can do for long except just drop an orb in this general area, which is just going to keep them from peeking out of this cubby here and then checking this corner here at first, while you can have somebody possibly cross and take control over here, take control of teleporter. It's a very extremely simple orb, and all you're going to do is you got the window right there. You're going to go to the bottom corner of the window, drop the orb there. And as you can see here, it's going to freeze everything. They have nowhere to peek. You got the cubby all dropped off there. And as you can see, if they're moving through it, they're going to make a ton of noise. Okay? So that's one orb. They're very, very basic orb. That's what that's going to help you with. It's going to help you stop any push or whatnot through here. Now, keep in mind, any of these defensive or even offensive orbs that I'm using can be used during retakes. So, or even like assaults. Like, so if you just planted the bomb, and you wanted to check that, oh, oops, I did not mean to throw that. I guess it worked, though. It did the same effect. You kind of want this to get a little deeper back here, though, because you want to get more of the area. But that did work. I did not mean to throw that. But, if you just planted the bomb, and then you just kind of come over here, you got the window, you throw it. It works. Usually, it's just barely ding that, but usually you want it to go in there. Okay. So that's the first defensive orb. That's to protect from long. There's another defensive orb here for hookah. Very very simple. It depends on where you're holding your sight. I usually play back sight with a sniper rifle. So if you're holding back sight over here, you know, you're watching long or whatnot, you want to go where the little crevice is, go halfway, drop it in there, and then what that's gonna do is it's gonna hold off all of hookah essentially, except for that back corner, which is great because if you have a teammate sitting here or you have a teammate sitting here, they will not be affected by that orb. That's one of the biggest things with defensive orbs is you don't want to screw over your teammates. The orb drops about right there, and as you can see, your teammate will still be able to freely move around. Obviously, you don't want to crouch jump off that because it's going to make noise. But your teammate is still free to move around and reposition himself in this back wall here if they're sitting there. So that's one of the orbs that you can go for if you're protecting back sight. That's one of the orbs that I really like. Like I said, if you're back sight, usually you don't want to be out in the open when you're doing abilities like this, but that little crevice right there, that little, I don't know, that whatever, you go like right in the middle of that, and you throw that, and it's gonna plant it right where you want it to go. Bounces it to where it's not gonna hit your teammates, and they kind of have that back row there to still maneuver. It also gives your teammate, if they're holding this angle, it gives them this angle to still move freely, get out without being slowed. Okay, so that's one of the orbs I like. That's one of the orbs you can throw from backside. Another backside orb. This one extremely simple. This is just a hold off hexagon. So if you're holding backside, you obviously don't want to be showing on hookah. You throw the orb just right there, and they're gonna hold off all of hexagon. There's nothing they can do except for like not even this little corner that's not gonna be frozen. Even up here on the planter is gonna remain frozen. So again, if you're aiming backside, you aim kind of right in that corridor right there. So again, you know, when you're doing retake, you're coming on elbow. Elbow's right here. You're gonna come around the corner. You're gonna see the little wood stakes right there. You got one right there, one right there. This is the one you want to hit. So what this orb is, you pop out, you kind of put your crosshair above it. It's gonna throw, and it's gonna drop it right down. Now, what this is gonna do is it's gonna freeze up hexagon again. It doesn't it doesn't freeze anybody here. So if you have a teammate playing here, if you're you know, they're watching long or whatnot, it's gonna freeze everybody here. They're gonna have like a free pick. It's not gonna hit them. So this is another one. If you're on defense when you're coming around the elbow and you want to clear back corner, and then like so the hexagon, you want to clear the corner over here, which is like I was talking about, a very common spot for defenders to hide out for post plant. When you're coming around the corner, of course, walking around the corner, when you see here, you kind of want to go up and then a little bit to the edge there. When you throw, it's going to bounce the orb around and bounce it down. Now, what this is going to do is this is going to clear that corner, and then if they're playing close hexagon, like right here, which is like where they can watch the cubby, they can watch the exfil from hookah, it's going to close them off. Now, most of the time when people are playing long, though, they're playing pretty deep long, and they're checking here, and then you have somebody in hookah that's checking the left side of the site, so you got right and left covered. But that is going to free anybody, or it's going to freeze anybody that's sitting right here. So what you can do is you can completely shut them off, do something like that. They're going to have the tiniest little sliver to hit you. If they get you through that sliver, it was meant to be, apparently. But then you can get into sight. Now the problem is you do still have hookah to deal with. Now dealing with hookah coming from elbow, so if you wall them off here, if you don't even want to use the orb here, you can wall them off. Just keep in mind, you know, people like Jet can still get out and get around. And as you can see there, if you set the wall right, you will not be able to get through it. I cannot get through here. You can get a little nasty shot on them if you really like want to. They probably won't expect it. You kind of put your crosshair up here a little bit, kind of even with these little symbols or whatnot here. Kind of right there, peek, throw, and then your orb is in hookah. Now, they're still going to have a shot on you if they're holding the angle, but it should give you a free range to get into the site and then either defuse or just get into a better spot to jump in there and pick them off. One of the spots they really like to hold is this box here or close right there. Those are two of the very popular spots for the B plant. So those are some orbs and some walls you can use. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to go over the two common walls. I guess I could go over those as well. The first one, of course, is the hookah wall. Very strong wall, very difficult for them to do anything from there. So if you determine, I had a game earlier where both of the defenders, it was a 2-on-2, both of them played hookah. I played this wall and it was a GG. There's nothing really that they could do to us. We were able to get the full defuse that was plant even backside in this corner right here. So it was even better for us. For better measure, you could even drop an orb at the ground, so if they do somehow get over, they're just not going to be able to get to you by the time you're able to defuse. And then the other common wall, of course, is the elbow wall. You know, if you're holding the close elbow. The reason why I like this wall, again, is because not only do you cover off the elbow from would-be attackers, defenders, or whatever it may be, you give yourself a little bit of cover here that you can play around, which is exploiting cover is one of the best things you can do in this game. That's one of the things that I've shown to be the most beneficial when I'm playing. Now, on attacking, there's a lot more information that you can get by attacking the B site with Sage. Now, when you're attacking, you start usually right here. This is where the little wall ends up. This first orb is to check for long, or is to get long control, I should say. Now, if there is a Sage playing B site, it's unfortunate because they can counter your long control by dropping a orb themselves. But typically, Sages will play the A site because Sage in the A site is just extremely strong. And that's usually where the strategies will go if they have Sage, but we're going to go over A site later. So this one, you want to get there as quick as you can, get your orb out. You're going to see a picture. So this picture right here, you go to the top corner of the picture and throw your orb, and you're going to drop the orb right in front of Hexagon. Now what this does is it clears corner Hexagon, which is a lot of people like sitting corner Hexagon. It clears this corner as well, and it forces them, if they're going to play Hexagon, to get into this area. So what this does is it frees up so many spots for you to check on your team, unless they're sitting in the ice, which they don't do very often. I've seen it. They'll sit perfectly still in the ice, and that's just a feels bad. You still want to clear the corner, but you have a better idea that if somebody's holding Hexagon, they're either holding planner side over here, or they're holding far side over here, which is definitely not a spot that I recommend or I've seen often or at all, just because you're kind of in the open. You don't have really anywhere to go. You get traded off pretty easily. If they're holding close Hexagon, like here, again, this is a spot I don't see often either because there's just nowhere to go. You just run into a wall. There's no cover from long. So that orb pretty much pushes Hexagon and long control, unless it's a jet and they dash over and take control over here. But you will be able to see that or hear that, and it's a pretty good indicator of what the defenders are doing if they put a jet over here. Again, we'll show that orb one more time. You got the picture. You got the corner of the picture. You kind of, as you can see, the picture goes like this. Put it right there in the corner. Throw it. It's going to bounce off the picture and land just smack dab in the middle. It lands about right here, and it's going to freeze all of this. It's going to give you long control. The problem is you could set it a little deeper by instead of going to this corner, you kind of move it a little bit in more. This will give you a chance to clear over here without slowing down your team, which is probably the best way, honestly. You get a little closer, put it a little deeper, throw it, and it's going to set it a little deeper. Oh, that one, it actually froze, but you could B-hop over it, and then you get long control from there. I don't know why that one bounced like that. Usually it bounces a little deeper. Let me try that one more time. So again, corner, bring it down to a little above the head. I think there it is. Yeah, so you can freely go around it now. You can get your team in there, and you have B long control. Usually while you're doing that, while you take B long, you're going to get a lot of attention B long, which is what you want, because usually you're going to have a split push, and you're going to have your team, 2 or 3 of them going in through hookah. Now, I like Sage doing the B long orb and then running over to help with hookah, help clear hookah. There's a few orbs that you can do here on the hookah, like a attack, if you will. The first one, you have this little thing right here. Kind of bring it over, throw it, and you're going to clear back of hookah and this little back corner over here. Again, it doesn't freeze up anybody sitting on this, which is kind of a bummer. I don't like Sage coming in through hookah using her orbs here. This is kind of where you want your other teammates to kind of step in and use their orbs. Their utility to get in, because at that point, you've already cleared long with your orb. So you've cleared long already. You have 1 orb left. And then the orb from hookah is just a lot better. You can freeze down below in here, and then your team can execute from B long while you're holding, you know, you're kind of defending them from hookah. That's my favorite orb because a lot of the time, like I was talking about, you have defenders holding here or even holding underneath hookah, which is a very common spot because there's so much cover for B long from underneath hookah. And then if they have hookah control, it's just a very powerful position. So when you take control and you come in, you have cover right here. Get to your cover, and then if you look at the top of this window, you have your line right here. You want to go to the first one, throw it, and it's going to drop the orb directly on anybody that's sitting underneath hookah. What your team can do at this point is you then have hookah control. After you throw that orb, you can pop up, check the right side of sight. You can have another one of your team kind of checking cubby. Usually I see a breach in here, dropping a breach charge in here, and then clearing out that whole cubby while your team is executing from B long. They're kind of moving in, you're covering them, and then all B long has to worry about is elbow and left side of sight. You should have 1 or 2 people here, so it should be like a 2-on-2. And then while you're covering them from hookah, covering their cubby and their right sight. Now, if you don't want to drop the orb in this area, that's fine. There's another orb you can use from hookah to clear out the back of sight. This one is very simple. You want to be a little deeper back. You got the 3 like little knuckles here. You go to the middle knuckle, drop it down to about right there, and then throw the orb. Very simple. And that's going to clear the back of sight and the left side. So again, back and left sight, this is just going to help your team coming from B long because this is one of the areas that they have to worry about. When you drop that orb, really the only area they have to worry about that's not covered is that corner there and then elbow. If you drop that deep orb, you've pretty much shut off the left side of sight, and then your team in hookah is basically watching spawn in this cubby here. So again, we'll do that one. We'll do both of them again. So if you wanted to check, or if you wanted to clear underneath hookah, you go to the middle of the window, to the first like little X or whatever squares, drop it. It's going to bounce it straight down. There you go. Yada yada. You got that all frozen off. Or you can clear back of sight. Again, you just back up. Third knuckle, drop it. That's going to clear up all this. Now, one spot it doesn't freeze, as you can see, is this spot here. That's very simple. In order to freeze that, instead of going to the middle knuckle, you can go between the... I'll show you right now. You can go in between the first and the middle one, so you could drop it kind of right there. It's going to set it a little deeper, as you can see. But it doesn't come... I like it more in the back here. Because it's going to freeze up anybody using this box as cover if you use the third knuckle. But again, that's your choice, of course. If you wanted to not do any of that either, and you want to freeze off elbow, that's probably the most basic freeze here. Elbow freeze is very simple, but it's risky because you're exposing yourself to double boxes there. You're exposing yourself to left sight, but again, very simple. You have the line going there. You just throw the orb right there. And then you have complete elbow control, of course. Like, very simple. That's one that I'm sure people figured out on their own without bouncing it off of anything. But that will get you elbow control. But like I said, that is a risky one. It's better just to have your B long players freeze that one off themselves. Check that one themselves. Or you could bring them in with the walls. Now, my favorite use of the walls for offense, though, is to completely freeze off spawn. Now you have, this is hypothetically, of course, you have hookah control, you have B-long control. You're probably not going to lose those rounds if you have 2 of the 4 chokes controlled. And then you just lock off the third one with a wall, just obviously like that. But that is my favorite spot to place the wall. Or if your team is approaching from B-long, you drop a wall here. You cover up everything, essentially. They can't get through. There's no holes in the wall. And then your team just has to watch the other 3 chokes if they aren't already. Okay, so that is B, defense and attack. Those are just some of the basic stuff that I found for her. We're gonna go into the A now. Now A site has a lot more intricacies to Sage, and this is where I suggest, if you're playing Sage, this is where I suggest that you defend, especially if you have a Cypher on your team. Cypher and Sage are really good at defending. And you could put a Cypher on B site, and then Sage will be fine to play the A site. Now, typically when I play Sage, I'll play Sage from Heaven, especially in the first round, or the first few rounds, because I kind of want to hang back, farm my ult a little bit, and then call out any early pushes because I have the ability to delay wherever they're coming from. Now, The most common spot that people are planting on A is right here. This is the truck site, because what happens with Sage is you can completely wall off this area. You walled off everything, and you can get basically a free plant right here. And all you have to do is watch your spawn or watch your U-hauls, which are right here. Now, U-hauls themselves are dangerous. I'm sure you guys have had plenty of experience in U-hauls. U-hauls is one of the ices I'll show for the attacking, but I just wanted to kind of show where the defense usually, or where the attackers usually go, and then how the defense can react to that. Now, there's a few ices you can use, a few frozen orbs you can use to slow that or get information on that. The most common one, if you're up here in heaven, you see this little brown brick right here? That's what you want to hit. Now, it's a crouch orb. So what you do is you go halfway up. Now you're exposing yourself halfway to U-hauls. You got the brown orb right here. You go about halfway between the top of the building, which is right there, to the brown orb. Throw it. You're going to hit it. And that's going to freeze off that whole truck area. You got stairs frozen. That's the whole site they could plant at. So their entire site is frozen at this point. That's going to deter, or that's going to stop them, slow them. They may decide, okay, we're going to go through teleporter here or whatnot. Or whatever. That's a great orb there, because you're completely in cover except for the very, very sliver here in U-Haul. So if they expect it, I mean, they can get a headshot right there. Obviously, that's so again, this is a crouch strategy, because if you try to do this standing up, you're gonna bounce it off the top here. I'll show you. It doesn't really work out, right? Like, you just froze yourself off completely in heaven. If they didn't know you were here already, they definitely know at this point. And if they still didn't know after you threw that orb, the moment you move around and make all that noise, they're gonna know. So again, it's a crouch. Pull your orb out. You kind of go halfway there. Put it halfway between, throw the orb. See, I think that was a little too shallow. It still worked. If you throw it a little too low, if it drops like down into this area, what's going to happen is it's going to bounce. Let me see if I can do it. Well, this angle's not going to work. It bounces off the top of the truck and then just drops on the truck, and the ice doesn't go anywhere. So you do want to try to get it, your crosshair in here, and you want to hit it as close as you can to that brown brick. Okay? Now, that's going to freeze off the whole site. It's going to delay them. It's going to give time for rotation, which is really what Sage, shines for on defense. Now, the other orb you have here is for restroom. This is to freeze off the front of restrooms. You have the little black pyramid here. Now, you want to go until you can see the little picture here. You got the picture until it's visible. Crosshair at the bottom. Drop it down just a little bit. Throw. And that's going to be your restroom frozen orb. That freezes off restroom and the entire pretty much front of that site. If they're coming out of restroom, they are not moving anywhere. This gives you great picks. This can protect cubby. If you have somebody playing the cubby over here or playing truck over here, they can get a nice little pick coming out. That is one of the orbs for heaven, or for restroom. Now, those are the orbs from heaven. I was testing another orb there to see. Now, you have another orb here if you're coming for the retake. A lot of times, post-plant, they will play in this cubby in here, underneath heaven, to watch over here, watch U-hauls or whatnot. I don't typically like playing here because, again, you don't have a lot of cover, so it's usually people that are just the absolute mongoloids, and they love taking the gunfights, and they're really good at taking and winning the gunfights, that will take that spot, that post-plant. But I have seen it. So in there, you go here, the door's kind of cracked a little bit. You go down to where the black triangles are, put your crosshair there, drop it, and it's going to drop the orb straight down. And it's going to clear off all underneath heaven and then this little cubby here. It also will help with back of sight, obviously. One of my favorite things with Sage is her ability to maneuver around the map and get up on things and whatnot. Going from the A plant, you have a few things that you can do. You could drop a wall there to get over here. You can hold the A short, the short side of A. You can hold bathrooms from a cheeky little angle here and get a surprise kill. You could jump on a truck. And you can get the angle over there. Oh no, I fell off. Anyway, you can clear the cubby and whatnot. A short seems to be the one that a lot of attackers go on the most that I see. They do a split push, obviously. 2 or 3 coming A short, and then the rest of them going through bathrooms. So if you find yourself defending back of sight, which is one of my least favorite areas to defend, I don't like being stuck in the site. Again, like I was saying, you have too many angles you have to look out for. But if you find yourself in the situation where you are defending back of sight, you do have a few orbs that you can hit here. First one, if you're defending back of sight again, you have the truck here. You have this, I don't know if that's like a light bar or whatnot. You put your crosshair to be on the corner down there like that. Throw the orb. It's going to bounce it over. It's going to bounce off that wall. and they're going to freeze off the truck side site, which is, again, like I was saying, what other sages like to use, or what one of the most popular plant spots is right here. The other most popular plant spots right here, a lot of people are calling default. You can freeze off default from here as well, but they probably won't plant it. They're going to check back site usually first. But in the event that they don't, if you back up a little bit here, you got the little picture. You go to the top corner of the picture, bring it over to the line, and then drop it. You're going to clear bathrooms, and you're going to freeze off the whole front of the site and the corners. Okay? That's going to force whoever is in here probably to push you. And then if you're looking to take the fight, you can, you know, get into the fight at that point. You could put it a little deeper back again with the triangle here. Drop it down pretty low with this, and that's gonna freeze the entire site and then any rotation through there. Now, of course, you could freeze off U-hauls from back of site. That's very, very simple. I don't really think I need to get into that. You just kind of put the orb in right there, and it's gonna freeze through U-haul and even into the room itself. As far as U-haul, I keep wanting to say smoke. That's why I'm kind of hesitating, because I'm so used to Counter-Strike. As far as U-haul from Heaven, you can do this. You can line up basically the same way that you line up the Heaven orb to freeze off truck. You just kind of put it above the door, and then, like, you got the frame right here. You want to go the inside of the frame, and then same thing. It's basically the exact same orb. That's just from Heaven and from cover. So that's an option that you can do as well. Now, a few of the defense little peaks that you can do with your wall that I really like. You have the first one. If you want to get a little aggressive, you could put it right here. Now, if you notice the way I put it, I left a gap. So, because you know, you could do multiple things here. You can peek here. They like to peek through there. You can take the long peek here, which I don't necessarily like because the box is spammable. But if you want, you can peek from this angle, and they might not be expecting that. Or you could take the angle from the inside. It just gives you more angles to peek around and more angles to shoot through and over and whatnot. That's why I really like doing that. That's just a more aggressive wall there. If you want to be a little more passive, but you want to have a nice little spot, you can put a wall here, and this is going to give you the truck wall. Any push through a short, you kind of have a nice little spot here, but this is easily smoked off. Usually brimstone smokes will go right here, and they'll smoke off right here. Sometimes it'll be a little difficult to see them if they don't put those smokes deep enough. But if they do put the smokes where they want to go, usually it's right, like I said, right here, and then in U-hauls over there. You kind of have a nice little spot where they feel safe, and then you get a nice little cheeky angle on them, and you can get a pick from here. I do like this spot the most, but if they slow push, obviously the ice can melt, and then you completely just lost your wall trying to get that first pick. And then the other wall, of course, like we talked about at the hookah, there was the easy wall there. The easy wall here for bathrooms is you just seal off bathrooms, and yeah, they're not getting through bathrooms at all. So these teleporters, you can put an orb through to help your team. It'll freeze off hookah. You kind of put it in the middle, throw it out there, and it's going to throw it into hookah and freeze them off there. So that's a very useful way to use the teleporters to your advantage. Now, when you're assaulting the A bomb site, that's the site that you're choosing to go after, there are a few frozen orbs that you can use here that are going to help you out. They're going to help your team out. Maybe push people off of Heaven, push people off of U-hauls. These are a little more difficult to pull off as far as just like the trajectory. The orbs have to travel further, and you're kind of dodging things by inches with these, but they are awesome once you get them down. I utilize them in the game, and they're amazing. So the first ones I like to use are 2 orbs. So obviously you only get 2 orbs. So the 2 orbs I like to use is you set up one here and you set up one in this back corner. And what these orbs are for is you're gonna the second orb, the one from the back corner, is gonna drop right here, and it's gonna freeze off all of U-haul, which is great. It opens up a lot for your team. And then the first orb drops in Heaven. So the first one that you want to throw, and I know I said second and first, I kind of mixed them up a little bit. The first one you want to throw, though, is the U-hauls one, and then you want to throw the Sanctuary one as your team is getting ready to push, okay? These orbs, because of how long it takes for the orbs to land, You want to make sure that when you throw them, your team's ready to go. So the first orb is the U-Haul's orb. You go into the corner here, and you're going to look straight up. Now, you see the palm trees? You got one here, and they got little bite marks in their leaves or whatnot. You want to go to the back one, so you have the first one that you look at. You want to go to the back one, go to the little bite mark, go to like the middle of the tree, and throw the orb straight up. Now, if this lands correctly, yeah, it's going to land right in U-Haul's, and it's going to freeze it off. So it bounced off the wall right here, and then you just completely froze off U-Haul's. They're going to have to fall off it. They didn't even see it coming. I guarantee you they didn't even see the orb, and it's going to drop right on top of their face. You're going to be able to hear if they're right there from their movement. Okay, so that's the first orb. You throw that. Usually I throw that, and then I jump straight over to the second orb. We're going to do this one more time again. So you go to the corner, look straight up. Again, you got the little chew mark there. You want to go like kind of straight up from the chew mark to the middle of the leaf. Throw the orb. Again, you can see its trajectory. Coming down, bounce, boom, and there it is. You just froze off U-Haul. Completely froze U-Haul up. What this is going to do is this can even allow you to go through teleporter if you need to. It's going to allow you to execute, drop the wall, and then get your plant going while your team covers your U-Haul. That's one of my favorite strats with the A hit because again they just can't see it coming. It drops on top of them. Now after you throw this one, you're going to jump straight down here to these pile of rocks or rubble or whatnot. You're going to go on those. You got the building right here. You're going to go up the building, up the straight line to the first. You can see that there's like 1, 2, 3, 4 like black notches. You're going to go to the first gap of black notches above the power lines, and you're going to drop your orb like basically right in the middle. And what that orb is for, if it lands correctly, is for heaven. Yep, and it did. And you just completely froze off heaven. So I'll show you guys that one more time. This is my favorite, these are my favorite orbs from here. So again, power lines, you're going to go up to the first gap, go about the middle, so you got the black line going right down the middle, go up about halfway, throw the orb, and boom, you froze off heaven. So we're gonna set this up like it's a real game scenario here. You got your team. You usually have 1 or 2 on that side. You usually have 1 right here, and then you have 1 maybe lurking bathrooms for your hit. You're setting up your hit. So again, you're gonna go here. You're gonna set up. So again, you got the little tooth mark there, and you're gonna go kind of straight up to like that middle part right about there, and you're gonna throw. And you're gonna throw. So there, you now have heaven iced off. You have U-Haul's iced off. Now this one didn't go very deep. Usually you want to go a little deeper in there, and then you'll be able to execute on your site. Wall that. Now I stopped to look at the ice. Obviously, usually that's one fluid motion. You'll run through here, drop the wall while you're running, and then plant the spike. And then you'll take your post-plant positions. Usually your bathrooms will be a little passive with this because you can't help him. He's kind of by himself. He's checking for rotations usually in there. But you got a post-plant position right here where you can watch U-Hauls. Again, you can keep an eye on that. You probably have somebody playing cubby over here, watching for any flanks. And then you'll probably have 1 or 2 of them that will just take U-Hauls from whoever was defending U-Hauls at that point. That's my favorite execute with A. I think that's the best one. It's the most common execute right now as far as like the strat goes, but I haven't really seen people use these orbs too much. So again, you go to a little bite mark, go like straight up to where I hope you guys know what I'm talking about with the line, like the line in the leaf, how it kind of like separates right there. That's what I'm talking about. And you're kind of aiming right there. So when you throw it, it's going to go up, and then hopefully it's going to, yeah, it looks like it's good. Bounce. Yeah, that's the one you're looking for right there. The deep U-Haul frozen orb right there. Because that's just going to freeze everything. In U-Hauls, they can't even peek. So that's the one you're looking for right there. Now that's the A hit. So you got the ridges here. This is going to be your U-Hauls. And then you got the little shadow here and whatnot. You want to go about halfway, put it up just a little bit you can see the gap where the palm tree like leaves are. And you want to throw that right there. Now that's going to be pretty much a straight U-Hauls frozen orb. It drops deep, it freezes off U-Hauls right there. So that is to freeze U-Hauls from the box. Now again, I don't necessarily like that box because you could have somebody peek and then just completely take you out of the match. Even if you do have somebody holding bathrooms, that quick little peek, they could still take you out. So not a massive fan of that. And then in the event they come through teleporter, they could fight you. They're probably not going to, but you know, the ability to do so is there. And then you do have a heaven orb from here. You're going to follow the line of the building again. You're going to go right above the post. You got the first little square right there, and you're going to drop it in. And that's going to be your heaven ice as well. So drops heaven and freezes that completely off. So those are my favorite ways to utilize my two orbs. Again, I don't necessarily like the strat here on the boxes because, again, it leaves you open for you know, getting hit here in the bathrooms. If you are going through bathrooms as Sage, you could still do the same kind of walls and whatnot. You can wall off right here to execute onto the site. And then you really only have to worry about heaven, back of sight, and the little cubby here. Of course, obviously the hard right, you know, right here, you want to clear that. I don't necessarily like executing with the bomb out bathrooms. I prefer the bathroom lurker to kind of be someone that's going to kind of hold back as you execute through A short, and then they're going to kind of come out because the attention's usually going to be on A short at that point. There's just too much happening right here, as you can see, unless you like slow peek everything. There's kind of too much happening here. If you pop out, you got cubby, backside, and heaven, and then you do have to worry about close right. So I don't like coming out of bathrooms with a spike. I prefer the like 4 teammates to be coming through A short, and then bathroom being kind of your lurker that's going to kind of clean everything up, the cleanup guy. But that's pretty much the frozen orbs that I've discovered. Again, these are things that I've practiced, that I went into custom matches, and I just worked on and was throwing things around and then used them in games, and they've worked out for me, and they've increased my kills, they've decreased my deaths. I've been able to play a lot better once I learned the orbs and learned the walls of how to utilize this character. Now, again, this is just like an orbs and walls tutorial, a lot more orbs than walls. But if you guys like it, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up. It helps a lot. And then go ahead and comment down below if there's better walls. If it's not working for you, let me know. If you're hitting a hitbox, I'll see what I can do. But that's pretty much all I got. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in this long, and I hope to catch you guys at future videos.